Congratulations, your offer was accepted, and now our next step will be to go to contract. So I am going to go over the agreement of sale with you. Keep in mind, I am not an attorney. I cannot give you any legal advice, and I am not interpreting the contract. We do have a 3-day attorney review built into this contract. You can absolutely have an attorney review it, go over it, make changes to this contract for you. So I am going to share my screen and let's get started. Okay, so the first page of the contract you will see states notice to buyer and seller. Read this before signing the contract. Paragraph 1 just explains who represents who in the transaction. So whatever is checkbox here, that agent has prepared this contract and represents that party. The rest of this page is simply explaining that there is a 3-day attorney review built into the contract in the state of New Jersey. So once the contract is fully executed, either party or both can have an attorney review this contract and make changes to it. This is a signature page here, so you will sign and seller will sign as well. Down here, it'll indicate who prepared the contract and oftentimes the date that the contract was prepared. Page 2 of the agreement of sale, there is a table of contents, 1 through 43. I will actually go through each paragraph with you, so I won't read each subsection up. So paragraph 1 here, you'll see, as well as here, parties and property description. So as the buyers, your full legal name will be in this section here. Your current home address will be here, and you agree to purchase the property from, and the seller information will be here. Seller full legal description, legal names, and their current address. The property address will be the home that you will be purchasing, and that address will be here. And then the municipal tax map will be the town here, the county here, and the legal description, the block and the lot, and if a qualifier is applicable. Paragraph 2 is the purchase price. So whatever we agreed to purchase the property for will be here. Our escrow deposit, if there is any additional deposit, otherwise this will remain blank. The mortgage amount, and then the balance of the purchase price. We'll initial here at the bottom. Paragraph 3 is the manner of deposit. So our escrow deposit, which is displayed here, will be delivered to one of these parties. The listing broker, a participating broker, buyer's attorney, title company, or somebody else. If this is blank here, that means we have 5 business days to have that escrow deposit delivered to one of these. If there's an additional deposit, that'll be reflected here when that deposit is due. The escrow deposit, this will clearly define who is holding that escrow deposit. So if it is checked here at title company, then the name of the title company will be displayed here. Part D is regarding your mortgage. So your principal amount for your loan will be displayed here, the actual amount. And then what type of mortgage? So if we're VA, FHA, 203K, conventional or other, the term of the mortgage, typically 30 years and based on a 30-year payment schedule. And then when is our written mortgage commitment due to the seller's agent? So if there's a date here, we have to abide by that date. Otherwise, it's within 30 days after the attorney review is completed. The mortgage company will have a copy of this contract as well. So the mortgage company will abide by this date. And I will also stay on top of the lender to make sure that we have our mortgage commitment and that it is delivered to the seller's agent. Part E is the balance of the purchase price. So this is showing when our closing date will be. If this is blank, the date will be decided closer to our settlement. But our closing date will be here. That is when closing will take place. And then again, we will decide on a time closer to settlement. Sufficient assets. This is indicating that you represent that you will have all the necessary closing assets together with your mortgage loan proceeds to complete the closing. Part 5, paragraph 5, is stating that this is the accurate disclosure of the selling price. There is no other side contract that you have with with the seller that this is our gross selling price as listed above. Items included with the sale. So anything fixed to the property would be included with our sale. And here is a list of fixtures. And then anything additional carries on to the next page. So if there is a washer, dryer, refrigerator, blinds, lighting fixtures, that would be displayed here. And then anything excluded from the sale, anything the seller would like to exclude from the sale would be identified here in paragraph 7. Dates and times for performance. This is stating that the contract is of the essence, meaning we have specific dates per this contract that we must meet in order to get us to our closing date without delay. Paragraph 9, certificate of occupancy, indicates that the seller will provide a CO for the property. And however, if it exceeds this amount, if this is blank, then it's 1.5% of the purchase price, then the seller may terminate this contract and refund us our escrow deposit money. Paragraph 10, municipal assessments. It'll be checkboxed here or here if the seller has been notified of any special assessments that would increase property tax. Quality insurability of title. We will have title company run title on the property to be sure that it can be passed free and clear from the seller. So that means any liens on the property, mortgages or home equity line of credits, all of those will be satisfied prior to settlement so that clear title can be delivered. Paragraph 12, possession, occupancy, and tenancy. This is indicating whether or not there is a tenancy in place, applicable or not applicable. And if so, then this would be listed the tenant's name, location, the rent, security deposit, and the term of the lease. Paragraph 13, if the property was built prior to 1978, this would be applicable. If not, it would be not applicable. If the home was built prior to 1978, there will be a lead-based paint disclosure attached to this contract, and it'll clarify whether or not the seller has any knowledge of lead-based paint or any reports pertaining to lead-based paint. We can also test for lead-based paint within our inspection period, and we have 10 calendar days to do so at the completion of a turn review. Paragraph 14, point of entry treatment system. It will be applicable or not applicable, and this is a shared water treatment system. And then here, cesspool, if there's a cesspool at the property, it will have to be disclosed, applicable or not applicable. And this is more information on a cesspool if it is located at the property. Inspection contingency clause. So we have an inspection contingency built into the contract that we can perform inspections of the home. In this paragraph, it explains that we can test for radon, infestation of wood-boring insects, which is a termite inspection, and our timeline. So if it's left blank here, then we have 14 calendar days after the expiration of turn review to perform all of our inspections, to do our due diligence on this property. In that 14-day period, we also have to furnish the seller and the seller's agent with a copy of our inspection reports along with any requests for repairs. Responsibility to cure. Once we provide those reports to the seller with our requests, the seller will then have 7 business days to respond to our requests. Flood hazard, if applicable. So if this property does fall within a flood zone, we will have to have the appropriate insurance on the home. Part G, qualification of inspectors. This term means it has to be a qualified inspector and licensed and certified by the state of New Jersey. Megan's Law is paragraph 17 and 18. There is a list, a website online that you can research this information, as well as notice regarding offsite conditions such as Superfund sites. You can research this information online. Airport safety zone. Scroll down to the second page, you will see the municipality and the name of the airports in close proximity. Bulk sale is explained here. Bulk sales does not apply to a residential property or an individual selling residential real estate. Notice to buyer concerning insurance. You will be required, if you are taking out a mortgage on the home, to have the appropriate homeowners insurance on the property. 23, maintenance and condition of the property. This is indicating that the seller shall leave the home in broom swept condition for our closing. And 24 is indicating that the seller shall keep the appropriate insurance on the property through closing. We are entitled to an initial and a final walkthrough. So we will do a walkthrough the day or the day before closing. If you would like to do an initial walkthrough to confirm that inspections repairs have been done after home inspection, we can arrange for that as well about a week prior to closing. So we can do an initial a week prior to closing and then a final inspection walkthrough, which would be the day of or the day before closing. And this is 26 is a breakdown of adjustments at closing. So it's breaking down who is paying for what as far as closing costs. So what the seller pays for, the deed, the realty transfer tax, the lien, discharge fees, if any, and 1/2 of the title company charges. And then the buyer, what the buyer is responsible for, i.e. the other half of the title company charges, title insurance, etc. So that's all in this paragraph. Failure of buyer or seller to close. This is indicating what happens in that instance if we are, if one party is in breach of that contract, of this contract that we're signing. Consumer information statement acknowledgement. This will be a separate disclosure that you will sign, and the consumer information statement explains the different business relationships in real estate: a buyer's agent, a seller's agent, a disclosed dual agent, and the meaning of each. So here on 29, parts A and B is the declaration of business relationships. So we will have both buyer's agents, their brokerage, seller's agent, their brokerage in this section here. And then more information on the listing firm, the listing agent, the real estate licenses, the addresses, all information pertaining to the agents involved in the sale. Here we have 31, equitable lien. This is a lien on the seller proceeds for the real estate commission. Disclosure that the buyer or seller is a real estate licensee. This will either be applicable or not applicable depending on if buyer or seller is a licensed realtor. This is stating that the brokers shall receive the closing disclosure and other documents pertaining to your mortgage from your lender. Part 34, professional referrals. This is a hold harmless that any say home inspector, engineer, attorney, anybody that I would refer to you or recommend to you, you will do your own due diligence on. Again, this is a hold harmless that myself or my company wouldn't be responsible if you did have a bad experience with those professional referrals. 35 explains attorney review. Counting the time is when the contract is delivered, and we count 3 business days. We do not count Saturday and Sunday. And that would be our attorney review period, where an attorney can review this contract and make changes or disapprove of the contract in that time frame. Notices can be delivered certified mail, fax, email, recognized overnight courier, or electronic document are all acceptable. This contract cannot be assigned without written consent of the seller. And this is paragraph 38 is explaining that electronic signatures on documents is acceptable. Corporate resolutions, if the buyer or seller is a corporate entity, the person signing below on behalf of the entity represents that they are able to do so. Paragraph 14, this is our entire agreement. Both parties are liable upon signing, and this is our binding contract. Part 42 here are any addendas to the contract. So if our contract is subject to you selling a property in order to purchase this home, then this will be checkbox. If our property falls in an HOA or condominium association, then this would be checkbox. We have a coronavirus COVID addendum, this will be checkbox. If our financing is FHA or VA, then this would be checkbox. Lead-based paint disclosure will be attached if this is checked and the home was built pre-1978. For new construction, this will be checked. If we have private sewage or a private well, then we will have additional disclosures attached to this contract, and these boxes will be checked. If the property is 3 or more units, here, If there is a seller concession where the seller is contributing towards closing costs, then this will be checked and there will be another addendum to this contract indicating the amount of the concession. If the property is being sold short sale, this will be checked. If the property has solar panels, this will be checked and there will be an addendum with information about the solar panels. If we have a swimming pool, this will be checked. There will be an addendum regarding swimming pools and what is included with the sale with regard to that pool. And this will be checked with an addendum if there is an underground fuel tank. Anything extra here can be added. If there's other additional terms of the contract that we've agreed to, then there will be verbiage reflecting that in this box. Another signature line, actually initials on every page of the contract. And then this is a wire fraud notice, just giving you information on wire fraud to protect yourself and not to wire any funds to any third party without consulting with myself or your attorney or the title company first. So that is the contract that you will be signing today. If you have any further questions about this contract, feel free to reach out to me. I can answer any questions you have or go over it again in more detail with you. Okay, and then we'll move on to the next step once this is signed.